Hello, everybody. It's Flesson19, and today I want to bring you 10 things that I personally would like to see Taleworld implement or change before launch. These are not going to be in any specific order, although I do have a number one, which I will mention when I get to it. So I'm going to end up delivering this to the devs in the hopes that they might be able to look at it and say, okay, I kind of agree this is something that needs to be done. So without further ado, let us get on with it. Sieges. This is widely going to be considered one of, if not the most important part of actual Bannerlord. As you can see, when it comes to a siege tower like this, the AI does not have a problem climbing up. As you can see from the bigger towers that have 3 different ladders, the AI is absolutely terrible at actually getting up them. You can see how they are not even using the right side at all, barely using the left side. It is still a terrible, terrible mechanic and dynamic of the game when sieges are so important to your overall game and one of the most important things and how you actually dominate the world. As you can see, there is nobody, and it gets so bad that the defenders will actually start coming down the ladder because there's nobody to fight. The AI pathing and their mechanic in sieges needs to be fixed sooner rather than later with how important sieges are to the game. The lack of any real content in the last half of a playthrough makes it one of the most boring things about the game. The endgame itself involves creating an army, sieging. Creating an army, sieging. Literally rinse and repeat. There is nothing new to the game. There is nothing added. There are no twists or turns. Rebellions, for the most part, mean nothing. Where in Warband, somebody could try to take up being into an older kingdom that had been wiped out and would go ahead and rebel against you and bring that kingdom back. Rebellions do not have that same effect as of now, which I think they could have a bigger dynamic. One thing that I do not think Bannerlord can do that so many other games do are random events. It is one of the greatest things about other games in which at any point you can have a random event happen that can dramatically alter your gameplay. Twists, turns, new developments, things to spice it up. The last half of a game, the mid-late to late game, is one of the absolute most boring times of Bannerlord. And there should be something in there to help spice it up and make it just a little bit more fun. The decisions that AI armies make at times can be completely baffling. There are times in which they will not commit to doing something. They'll start a siege, they will end a siege. They'll then go to another target, start a siege, end a siege. And they run back and forth and just will not commit to one thing, where they will go days, if not weeks at a time, accomplishing nothing. The other problem still with AI armies that has been worked on, but is still a major issue, is food consumption. AI armies will still run themselves out of food. This has multiple problems to it. When an AI army is going to siege something and they have everything built, they will then start building siege equipment to start destroying this town or these castles' siege equipment themselves. knowing they are low on food. From that point, they will continue time after time to continuously build those siege equipments until the fact that they run out of food, or they are barely going to run out of food. At that point, they can be so far behind enemy lines that they are going to starve before they can get back to town, in which then another AI army can wait for them to starve out so they are weak enough to attack. Their food consumption is an issue that seriously needs to be addressed in two areas. One, food consumption by armies, I believe, should be halved. They do not take enough food to begin with, and unless the developers are going to allow AI to take more food, they need to be able to have a reduced food consumption so they are not continuously running out of food. Two, there needs to be a better mechanic for the AI to know they do not have enough food to successfully either siege this, or if they have to abandon it because another army is coming after them that is bigger, they need to have enough food to be able to get out of enemy territory, back into friendly territory, and get food before they starve. So the AI starving still needs to be worked on a massive scale. There are times in which I can just watch an army, wait for them to starve, follow them until they're down to nothing, and capture everyone. That is a mechanic that should never happen in a game. The AI should never be able to run themselves out of food. If you know you're getting low on food, you go to town. You don't continue to sit and wait and do other things. So while that has been worked on, it is still something that needs to be a... Smithing is a mechanic to some people that can be really, really good. Smithing serves three purposes. One, you can create a weapon that is better than anything else you can get in the game. Two, it is a great way to go ahead and level characters. Three, you can make an absorbent amount of money just by smithing weapons. First of all, smithing weapons for money is not realistic, and that is something that is easily solved. All you have to do is majorly increase the trade penalty for smith weapons so they don't make that much money. Don't go overboard and make it to where they make no money. However, they can go ahead and they can still make money off of it. That will go ahead and make the artisan smith perk that much more valuable if you do plan on selling them. Choosing that perk will then allow that person to be able to make decent money selling them. Right now, you do not need to even worry about taking it because you can make so much money. But if you increase that trade penalty so you don't make as much, but then allow that perk to help out, you could go ahead and you can solve most of those problems with smithing. Second is when it comes to actually smithing gaining levels. The only reason why smithing right now gains you so many levels so quick is because the EXP per smithed item right now is a little bit over the top, dependent upon how good of an item you make. The better item you make, the more EXP you get, and therefore it is something that is very quick. To me, that is a pretty mute issue that I don't think the devs need to worry about. It's just not important. To the last point, and this is something that would take a bit of work for Taleworld to do. However, this is an issue that I have been pushing for some time. I would love to see bowcrafter, fletchers, and armorers in the game. Right now, I don't think smithing needs to be touched in any way except for that reduction in the amount of money that smith items can make. I think smithing itself as a mechanic is working pretty good. Having the ability, though, to actually make armor and even bows and arrows will bring so much more of a dynamic to the game. There are some people that are infantry, and when you are playing an infantry character, what you are going to want is more arm armor and less leg armor. Also, if you're playing a cavalry, you would like to have a little bit more leg armor because that's where you're going to get hit by the infantry. This will allow an armor smith to build the exact type of armor item that the person wants. It allows them to tailor their equipment to how they want to play the game. They don't have to go out looking for it. They can go ahead and create it themselves. The same thing comes with a bow. There are some people that would maybe rather like to have a little bit more accuracy to have a little bit less damage, or maybe have a little bit more missile speed and have a little bit less speed. This will allow people to once again tailor a bow and then also tailor arrows to how they want them to be to suit their play style. The good thing about this is that it does not hurt anyone to make this change. If you do not like it, you don't want to be a smith, you don't want to be an armor or a bowcrafter fletcher, you don't have to put points into it and you don't have to do it. It doesn't affect you. But for the people that want to do it, it is going to enhance their gameplay experience. Death in general. Right now, AI are not dying in other battles, and players are not dying except by old age. That is, I think, something that needs to be turned on pretty soon, and I think it needs to really be in a check mark here. Being able to have an additional check mark where you can say who you want to die or who you don't want to die is another way that you can customize the gameplay experience to the person. Do you want to have a general game to some people, or do you want to allow people to be able to specialize the game that they want to play? That is the big question when it comes to adding additional options. That is one thing that has still not been implemented, and death is something that a lot of people love. However, as long as it has been going on for now, they still do not have it nailed down the correct way it should be for everybody. This is something that is somewhat of a priority that should get handled, as death in general through the entire map is something that is going to need to be balanced. And until you get that death turned on for everybody, you're not going to see how death and birth is properly balanced. Kingdom decisions and diplomacy. When it comes to kingdom decisions, I think there should be more than 3 choices that can actually be made. I think 3 kind of limits it, and with the way that the mechanic works right now on whether or not you actually get suggested to take a thief, it can make it really difficult for some people to actually try to get thieves. I would like to see that opened up to at least 4, and heck, I wouldn't even mind to see 5 people recommended. It would actually allow you, the player, as well to gain more relation with other people as it gets to the point when you max out with certain people. I've almost maxed out with 2 of these people right now. This one I haven't. So this one would be a good person for me to gain charm with. So for kingdom decisions, allowing a little bit more options would be nice. As far as diplomacy is concerned, coming from Warband, and I would believe more of the Florist mod than the vanilla, being able to have more diplomacy options I think would be really good. Maybe having trade routes a trade agreement where you could actually get a bonus for all your trade routes, being able to possibly form alliances or non-aggression pacts where you won't get attacked, where you can go ahead and have more options to make the game a little bit more customizable to how you want to play. To know that I can make a non-aggression pact with Botania for, let's say, 2 months, and I don't have to worry about them attacking me, can let me focus my attention on something else. Policies. Right now, I believe policies are a very, very good part of the game itself. There are so many policies that are absolutely amazing. However, there are a lot of policies that are absolute junk. Having some of these policies rearranged so that they do offer more of a benefit would be nice. With a policy, most of them should have a positive and a negative. Some should also have choices to make, where you could increase the garrison size of either a castle or a town, depending upon what you choose for that policy. Adding more policies than are there right now would also give people more chances to customize their kingdom. Some people will only have maybe one town for their kingdom and let all the fiefs go to their lords, while another one wants to control most of it themselves. Having enough policies for each type of situation into which you can customize your kingdom with those policies to actually benefit your play style would be nice. So as far as policy is concerned, would I like to see more? Yes. Would I like to see a lot more? Absolutely. I feel the more the better. Give us more. Don't give us less. Sandbox has issues, but it can be solved to become a great thing. First of all, one of the problems is when you make your choices here. In a sandbox, you're allowed to choose 5 of these choices. In a campaign, you actually get to choose 6. So you are losing a attribute point and 2 focus points by playing the sandbox. So what does that mean? Well, when you choose your age, if you're playing at age 20, you're actually getting less than what you would in a campaign. 30 would be the same. 40 would get you 1 attribute and 2 focus, and 50 would get you 2 attribute and 4 focus, because you're losing 1 option. Now you also lose your big brother, your little brother, and your little sister. So you're losing all that to just gain 2 attribute and 4 focus points. Now for a death character, there is virtually no reason why they should ever want to play a sandbox. Because as a death character, you want to start at a low age, so you last longer, which means you're losing points. Now, I don't know if choosing 5 in a sandbox compared to 6 in a campaign is just an oversight on Taleworld's part or not. Hopefully, they can address that in this video. Now, the thing that I think could really come from the fact of Taleworld with the sandbox is options. And that is right here. You could have so many options available in a sandbox because it's Sandbox. Let us run through a bunch of options for us to decide how we want to customize the game for us. Why should we only have 25, 50% in realistic for damage? Why is that? Why are you forced to have just 50 or realistic? Why are we only at 5% or 10%? Persuasion chance. We should be able to get a lot more options. Death. How about death by old age only? Disable it altogether, or have it on altogether. but give us a lot more options. Allow us to be able to customize it like so many other games in this world, as I've used before, Civilization 6. Firaxis has done an amazing job offering people so many options in the game so that they can customize however they want it to be. You could add how long treaties last for, how long is a year. Maybe you don't want to have 21 days in a month, maybe you want 14 days in a month, or maybe you want 30 days in a month so the games last actually longer. Give people the options. What some people will say is that then the game will be unbalanced. That is what the campaign is for. Balance the campaign and make a sandbox what it should be. Something for us to go into a sandbox and create what we want. That's what a sandbox should be. So giving more options and nailing down any potential problems that death characters might have by choosing the sandbox is, I think, something that would be a welcome sight to a lot of people. Still, one of the very big downsides that I feel in battles is with the captains. This is, I think, something that needs to be addressed pretty much by Taleworld, and I think a video form would be very good if they did it. Understanding the exact form of the captain mechanic, I think, would be very, very beneficial. To know exactly under what circumstances it is. Does it automatically take into account the highest person you have in Formation 1 will always be the lead captain for that formation, and therefore their captain perks work? When you are not in an army, is that how it is? And if that person is down, the next person takes over? I don't know if Taleworld has ever specified that. Also, when you are in an army, when captains are chosen, some will be chosen for some of the formations and some will be left alone. This creates a two-part problem. Why are my captains, being the commander, not being assigned to those empty positions so they get captain perks? Second, why are some people that are exactly cavalry being assigned to the formation of an infantry captain? That can cause problems when you were to, say, charge. Your horse captain would charge a lot faster and would most likely die before your infantry are able to get to them. A rework of the captain system, I think, would be pretty good. And I think that as the army commander, you should have more of a choice of deciding who actually gets put where. I should be able to decide who are the captains of each formation, which lords, and which of my companions. Troops, gear, and stats need to be looked at across the board. There are some that are just complete head scratchers, and a year into the game, I personally cannot figure out what has taken Taleworld so long to react to some. There are some instances in which an archer can go from tier 3 to tier 4 and have a worse bow and worse arrows. Going up a higher tier, their equipment is worse. That makes absolutely no sense. Being that I am playing a Sturgeon playthrough, my perfect example is the Sturgeon Veteran Bowman. In my opinion, one of the worst in the game. As you could see, 52 damage. Now, he is a tier 5 unit that has 12 wage. We will now go to a Forest Bandit that has 76 damage on 94 accuracy. They have about the same equipment as a tier 5 Sturgeon Bowman. They, on the other hand, only cost 8 in wages. So Taleworld is telling me that a forest bandit is better than a tier 5 sturgeon veteran bowman. That is just one example of how the troops need to be gone through one by one, and they really need to nail this down. We're a year into the game. They're proposing another 6 months or so until it goes live, and there are massive problems with many troops, not just with gear, but some with stats. And to me, definitely number one is the Steam Workshop. I think anyone from Warband will tell you this. And don't crucify me for the first part of this comment. Taleworld makes a good game. Modders make it exceptional. And right now, it is an absolute nightmare for modders to have to update their mods every time a new patch is dropped. To be able to make it so much easier and help out the modders to be able to update theirs faster and to be able to get it out to people is going to be something that is going to keep people drawn into the game. Because let's be honest, how many people really play vanilla versus playing modded? I think most people actually play a modded game unless you're playing the beta branch on purpose, just for the new features that come out. And sooner or later, the game is going to go down to where it's going to be live. There's going to be less patches. Taleworld needs to understand that modders are the ones that really make the game great. And I believe modders are the ones that really made Warband such an iconic classic that it was, that Bannerlord was able to actually be such of a big thing, because there were so many people that actually latched onto Warband because of mods, whether it was Florith or Prophecy of Pendor, that kept them playing Warband even to this day. So Taleworld needs to do everything they can to make it easier for modders to be able to adapt their mods to the game and get it out sooner to the consumer. This is what I feel needs to be worked on and developed, if possible, before live. Until next time, friends, take care, and thanks for watching.